Hey, welcome to Game Lair, where we explore the science of play and the quest of learning. I am your host, David Colmer. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Welcome down to Game Lair.
I play piano.
I play chess.
I play everything.
I play games of my own invention.
I'd like to move to the domain of play.
All right, I'd like to welcome Jade Arthur to the show. Welcome, Jade.
Hey, David. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for making time for me today to be on the show. I wanted to just start by just sharing your name and what you're most interested in right now.
So, my name is Jade Arthur. I am an English teacher and language coach, and I am a big Pokémon fan. So, as far as playing games, I've been playing Pokemon ever since I was a little girl, and I just love it.
I do too, and my son's gotten really into that. My younger brother played, and now it's kind of neat to see how it's gone across the generations.
Yes.
Franchise, very successful.
I think it's bigger than ever.
So we're definitely going to have a whole series on Pokemon at some point, so I don't want to talk too much about that today.
Great.
A little bit of the information for that series. But I do like to kick off the show with asking which Bartle player taxonomy category you fall in.
I would say I'm an explorer. I feel like I've always been a single player. Pokemon can be played as a single player experience. Many games can. And what I love about it is I like big, open, vast worlds that I get to just explore and enjoy and find new areas and new creatures. And I love places like lush vegetation. So I just really love exploring. I feel like that's one of the things that makes it really fun and immersive.
That's really interesting because I'm also an explorer, and Metroid has always been my game. I've played all of the Metroids because it's an alien planet you get to explore. So you don't have to explain that to me. I wanted to share with you that I actually taught English as a second language in Thailand for 7 years. And it's interesting to me that our paths of experience have sort of crossed in that way. So could you share your background a little bit with ESL, or you said TESOL, I think, which is teaching English a
second language.
They're definitely in TESOL.
Yeah, well, I have a TEFL. I have teaching English as a foreign language.
That's what I have.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have a certification, like a 300-hour diploma in that. I've been teaching ESL, English as a second language, for about 2 years. Before that, I also have almost 4 years of experience teaching English for the ACT. So I'm really familiar with both the art and the acquisition of language. And I love working with adults, and I feel like it's really important to engage adults because we focus so much on the kids that we forget the adults want to have fun too.
I agree with that. And it's interesting. My time, I started teaching high school, then went to kindergarten. And at the end of my tenure, I was teaching nurses and doctors. And actually, that was the most rewarding work because they were so motivated.
Exactly.
They need this for their job.
Right.
So it's with the high schoolers, and middle school was probably the worst along the idea of motivation.
Yeah. Well, I worked, like I was saying, I worked with high schoolers for the ACT, so there was a little bit of motivation in regards to, okay, I gotta get this score and get into this college, but I get in general, it's like, it's like another thing I have to do in my life.
Right. Yeah. They don't quite understand the big picture yet. So can you please share just a little bit more about Make the Grade with Jade? I'd like to hear more about that.
Sure. So Make the Grade with Jade is my brand. It covers courses, coaching, and teaching related to making sure that people understand how to go about their job search, how to improve the language choices they make, and really just learn how to have fun in different areas of growth. And it's really all related to language. Language is really the core of so much of what we do that we forget that even if we speak the language natively, there's so much variety in the language that we don't often tap into. We don't tap into the structures, the synonyms, the alliteration that can make our language really pop and express ourselves more creatively and authentically.
Yeah, it really is that thing, right? Like this is how you say it.
Yeah.
And I've come across that a lot, speaking with people from other parts of the world, Thailand, China, Japan. They sort of just do a transliteration, right? And it doesn't always communicate. And I'll do the same thing when I speak Thai, and people just laugh it off.
Yeah, we have so many idioms and things that are implied in the languages that we use. And whether you're native or non-native, it doesn't matter. There's still so many ways to build upon that language that really taps more into what you genuinely offer and what you value and what your goals are.
What would you say about the concept that language is an organism? Does that resonate with you at all?
Language is an organism. Language is an organism. So you're saying that it kind of grows and changes and evolves?
Does it evolve over time?
I see that. I see that. I think for me, I don't tend to think in terms of scientific, so I can see that though. I mean, I could think of it as a Pokemon, and they evolve too. So yeah, yeah. So I can see that.
I met you through someone, his name's Dylan Lee. Could you tell me how you met Dylan, or just since it's a shared contact that we have?
Yeah, I met him on LinkedIn. I don't remember exactly how we connected. I think he liked some of my posts, and we just kind of could see we both liked games, we were both helping people, and we ended up just kind of talking and connecting. He's a really nice guy. And I ended up helping him give some feedback on one of his courses. He gave feedback on one of mine. And I just feel like we have a really good professional relationship now.
Okay. Could you talk more about this concept that you use games to help people? How does that play into it? Because I don't think I've directly asked you that yet.
Yeah, so while I don't actually use known video games, I think there's a lot of maybe copyright issues with some of that, and I would want to be really careful. I do create games, whether it be like fill in the blank, quizzes, spinning wheels, Jeopardy. I do like all kinds of like games like that to help learners really become a part of the experience and like unlock that inner child. That's kind of one things that I've realized is really important is we forget as adults that, like, teachers forget that we as adults want to have fun. We don't want the fun to stop at school, like in kindergarten when we were just kind of messing around and, trying stuff with our hands and painting with our fingers. And, we were just kind of messing around in those early years. And then at some point it starts to become, okay, you got to get serious about what you're doing. And I think there is a better way to balance that. And I think gamifying things is a way to bridge that gap, because a lot of topics can be difficult, but they can be presented in a way that is engaging.
It's all about the engagement. I agree with that 100%. And just to push that a little bit further, a key phrase of my podcast is don't postpone joy. It's a coin phrase of the podcast. So could you please share the meaning behind a phrase that I saw you write about called your job search joy?
Job search joy. Yeah. So for me, job search joy is how you approach your job search with greater intention, and the actions you take help bring joy into your life. The job search is mundane, it's soul crushing at times, and I think there are things that you can do. While it's hard to be happy, there are moments that you can find joy in making a connection you didn't expect, or, making content that resonated with people, or recognizing the value that you offer and articulating it in a way that you hadn't done before. So there are moments of joy that come from that. And where for me, I see it as not don't postpone joy. I see it as finding the joy in the things you would postpone it for, whether that be childcare, whether that be your job at the moment, or just simply taking out the trash. It's in how you look at those things and bring joy into the experience no matter what you do.
So it's a paradigm shift, right? It's a perspective change. It's a way of being. I love that. So I have a heavier question. What would you say to the question, what are games and why do we love them?
So games are really interactive ways to explore an environment and a version of ourselves that we wouldn't be able to do in real life and face the consequences of them, whether good or bad. So it could be becoming a superhero, a Pokemon trainer, or shooting zombies or whatever. Things that we would never get to do in real life. We get to see how they would play out, the choices that would make, and get the rewards from doing actions that, like, man, that would be really exciting if I tried this. Or, okay, I need to solve this puzzle. I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to try it this way. And it's that sense of completion. It's that sense of reward. And it's also, I could win. I could be successful at this. I could lose. There's just so many, variety of outcomes and actions that lead to an experience that's very memorable.
Yeah, definitely. And you're making me think of almost like building skills. Would you agree that it builds skills, or what skills have you seen people develop through gaming?
I think the big one for most people would be problem solving, because it does challenge you a lot of times, whether it be a puzzle or you have to get out of a room. I remember when I was younger, at some age, I literally could not get out of the first room in Pokemon to just start my adventure. A couple years later, I got out of the room and I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I learned, like, I was more game, like, familiar, but I understood games more. I think it's, recognizing how to take something, how to take a challenge and solve it in a way that is more rewarding a lot of times than certain problems that you would face in real life. The consequences are more difficult, the rewards may not be as exciting, but in a game, you get to move forward, you get to gain more points, more weapons, and it just, it becomes an opportunity to feel like I can accomplish something if I put my mind to it.
Good life skill, right?
Yeah.
Real good idea there.
Yeah.
So what part of the country are you in, or what part of the world? I don't think I even asked you that. I could have opened with that, right?
Okay. I'm from Tennessee. I live in the U.S. I'm actually originally from Florida, but I've lived in Tennessee most of my life now for almost 19, 20 years, something like that.
Okay. We drove through there a couple years back. We went through Gatlinburg and hit the Smoky Mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I tried to not spend too much time in Gatlinburg. It was, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm ready to leave.
Yeah. All right.
So I know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, the Smoky Mountains are fantastic, but you can only do so much, hanging out in the woods.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't camp, so for me, it's like, I won't be doing any of that. Thank you.
That's fair. Yeah. So what area in Florida were you from?
I was originally from like Margate, which is not far from Coral Springs, more in this, I think, in the southern area of Florida. So it's pretty hot. It was getting really expensive, and that's why we moved to Tennessee. I live in a place called Murfreesboro, by the way. It's not too far from Nashville, but it's growing. It's growing. It's growing.
Yeah. And then where are you thinking of going to? Where do you have your sights on moving to?
So my family and I were kind of thinking about where we want to go. And at the beginning of May, we're going to take a trip to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and check it out and see if it would be a good fit for us. We've heard a lot of good things, and yeah.
Good things as well.
Oh, okay.
Good luck.
Nice.
With that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few of the learner-centric activities that you use when you're doing ESL training and language training. I was just curious, any other thoughts you have or any other games you like to play with a gamified learning environment? Anything else you'd like to add to that?
I think it's really just whatever I feel the student would enjoy and whatever the student, kind of responds to, because that's really what it is I like to create the games, but if the student isn't feeling it, then it's not going to matter. So if the student responds and they like it, I'll continue to do it. So it's really dependent on the student and like the way that I think I can present this the best. I still have a long way to go. Like, I want to get more experience with it. I want to get more training with it, because I do think there's just so much there that can be explored in really every part of our lives without focusing on the competitiveness of it or just the rewards of it, but the value that it brings looking at things from a different perspective.
I agree with that 100%. And there's a term you made me think of called the co-op, the cooperative games. Mm-hmm. I've been actually seeking those out for my kids, right? Finding games where Even on Super Nintendo, you can have games where people play together,
Exactly.
shared goal. I think there's a lot of positive psychology behind that.
Yes, definitely.
What else can you do to identify what sort of game would work with what sort of learner? Or how do you kind of pick up on those social cues to know what's going to resonate with what person?
So most likely what I do is I probably would just try something that and see how it works. I would, if we're learning something, a particular subject, whether it be in English, we're learning a particular verb tense like the present perfect, I might do some fill in the blank questions or just some trivia and multiple choice questions and see if they like it, whether they're spinning a wheel or, like I said, playing Jeopardy or something. I'd see if it works with them and if they enjoyed the challenge. Because it can be difficult sometimes being able to give them access to it depending on the platform you're on. Zoom, I'm able to share it and they can take the mouse, they can take control. But other platforms, I'm not able to, and I think that takes away from them getting that interactivity that's important. So it really depends on the format I'm in and how the dynamic is already being built for me to decide, okay, let's bring games into this and see if this would even add more to the environment.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to ask Jade, how did you get into education? Or obviously, maybe also, how did you get into games in general?
Sure. So in terms of education, I got my bachelor's degree in English, and it was really hard to figure out how I was going to use it. I was originally going to become a teacher, but it would take a while, and I wasn't really necessarily sold on it yet. So ultimately, after the lockdown, there was a tutoring center that opened up near where I lived. I applied for a job there, didn't think I would get it, and I did. And all of a sudden, I had a way into education that I didn't have before. And I was teaching English and reading skills for the ACT to high school students. It was something I never anticipated that I would be doing, but it was great work for a while, and I had some really great students that enjoyed working with me. As far as gaming, what I remember, and this could honestly be a dream, it's so long ago, but what I remember is that when I was younger, when I was born, I had what was called a hemangioma on my face. It's a large facial tumor that took off my nose and my upper lip. My mom helped raise money through a garage sale to fund some of the surgeries, not all of them, but we did end up getting the money somehow. On one of those times where I was going to have a surgery, I remember sitting in a little room, and I believe there was a Nintendo 64 and Pokémon Stadium there. And I just remember immediately liking it. I don't know what it was. I don't know how it happened. Like I said, I don't even know if it's a dream, but for some reason that is my first memory. And then years later, I ended up playing Gold and Silver and really getting into Pokemon. Once I started getting into Gold and Silver, I was like, I got my first Pokemon, I got my first Pokeballs. I'm like, oh yeah, the world is mine. I'm going out into the grass. I can get anything I want. And that freedom is, for me, what has been one of the core things that I love about Pokemon, and, I love about, anything is having the freedom to do what you want in life and in games.
That's fantastic. So it got you through that hard time, it sounds like, right? It was sort of like a lifeline maybe for you.
Well, to be honest, I actually loved the going to get surgeries. I know it sounds crazy. I loved it. It was literally just a moment that I was playing it. It just something stood out. I don't know if it was I had control of Blastoise. I don't even remember, but that's what I remember being the first time. But no, I loved it. I was put to sleep, so I didn't have to really suffer any pain. The people were so nice, and my mom and dad, they ended up making every surgery into a vacation, because we ended up having to go to Arkansas and go to the Arkansas Children's Hospital. So I saw it as a trip. I didn't see it as surgery. That was like part of the experience. And so, again, they framed my perspective early on to see even hospitals. Like, I don't feel that nervous in hospitals because I had such good early experiences. And because of that, it really is how you frame what you do.
That is just so impactful. I agree with that. And it really is that paradigm. And we make a choice for happiness. I always tell people that, and I've got a lot of pushback on that, but I get the sense that maybe you wouldn't push back on that.
I would have years ago. To a certain extent, I don't necessarily think everything can always be a choice depending on the situation you're in. I do think there are some situations where choosing to be happy when you're abused, I'm not sure that's the right thing. It's choosing, yeah, choosing to be happy, more choosing to be appreciative. Because appreciation can lead to happiness a lot of times. So I would say, you know, when it comes to being an abuser in that kind of situation, there might be a different way to look at things. But I would say for most people, it really is appreciating the good that you have in your life as much as you can. And that took me a very long time.
I really appreciate that pushback because that's very insightful. The concept of not accepting abuse and, you know, making a move against that or to get out of that situation.
Yeah. We have those situations where I think there needs to be different factors involved in how they should be viewed. So, yeah.
So I know we're going to have a series on Pokemon and we're going to get into that later, but I do want to just ask you now, what are your favorite things about Pokemon and what has just kept you interested in that franchise for all these years?
I'm so grateful in a way to Pokemon because I think it inspired how I view education. So when I look at Pokemon, there's a few factors involved that really make it special. One is the ability to catch anything in front of you, like that sense of that thing that you're looking at right there can be yours, and you can have power over it. I don't want to mean like, oh my God, I control you, but the sense of that can be yours is just kind of amazing. I love that. I love seeing a little, you know, Pokemon, and feel, whether it be a Fido or, you know, something, and Eevee, and you're like, oh my God, that could be mine. That's amazing. You know, it's like going into a pet shop and being like, you know, I could have anything I wanted here but without all those, I got to pay for it. I got to take care of it. Like, it's mine. Evolution. I really love the idea. I think one of the factors that's made me stay is knowing that if I train this guy, it will become stronger and a lot of times more beautiful. And that sense of growth I think is really important. And just like we said, education earlier, being an organism, it's like a Pokemon. The more you put into it, the better it's going to be, a better fighter it's going to be. I love, obviously, I mentioned earlier, the exploration and the freedom that comes from going to different places. There's freedom in education as well, what you want to learn and how you learn it. And variety. There's Pokemon coming out all of the time. There's all kinds of new varieties of creatures and forms and shapes. And that surprise is really exciting. And I think that can also be incorporated into teaching. Variety of teaching methods, styles, games, so that students are like, okay, what's she gonna do this time? How, you know, that sense of surprise. And to me, I think what can be learned from Pokemon is something that can be applied to education in how we enjoy it, you know, how we go about it.
I think you had brought this up before, but what's your favorite Pokemon platform? I know there's a lot of options, right? There's a really popular cell phone game. There's Pokemon Go. There's the platform, like the console games. What do you prefer?
I've always been a console gamer. I loved when I had like my little Game Boy Advance SP where I could like fold it and keep it in my pocket. I was always a hand. Yeah, you can take it with you. I love the portability of it. So for me, I definitely like handheld gaming a lot. I don't like playing on my phone. I guess I see it as a sort of, that's where I do my work and my other things. I don't necessarily want to play on it too. So I like having a console. I have a Switch, and so I've been primarily play on my Nintendo Switch, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we recently got a Switch as well, and we really like it.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a pretty cool system. I like it.
Yeah. A lot of new things going on with that. Since I'm actually not been a gamer for a long time. I'm getting back into it, I think, with my kids. Something you said really resonated with me. I played a lot when I was younger, but then I started to have a career. And then it's like, well, when do I find the time for this? And I think a lot of adults sort of fall into that trap.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I think for me, Pokemon and any games related to monster catching, because I know a lot of them, I've played a lot of them. Once Pokemon for me got a little bit boring, a little bit for me, I looked for alternatives. That's always been in the background, I think. I've always enjoyed that. But yeah, at some point, maybe the games aren't coming out, you're not feeling it, and other things become like more important. So yeah, for me, it's always been there.
So what were the alternatives? What other games did you get into when you got bored with Pokemon?
Yes, so Digimon, obviously, like that's a big one, obviously, like Digimon. The best one I played was Digimon World DS. I had a lot of fun with that one. I've played Monster Rancher. I still have Dragon Quest Monsters, the Dark Prince. I used to play Dragon Quest Monsters Joker on the 3DS. Spectrobe's Origins. I loved Spectrobe's Origins. I wish Disney would bring back those guys. They were cool. I've played so many of them. There's actually one of the coolest things I ever came across was not a Pokemon game, a monster catching game with my name in it. And it's called Jade Cocoon. For anybody that's familiar with it, there were 2 games that came out, Jade Cocoon 1 and 2. I played the second one. And the fact that I could get monsters and it had my name, it just kind of blew my mind. It was a pretty cool game. Yeah, I know there's so many going back. I would try to remember Invisimals. I did try Invisimals. Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. But, I always come back to Pokemon because it just had the right balance of, like, I like the cutesy designs of the creatures. I love the evolution. And I love the world. And so it's just like, I always come back.
Did you ever get into the cards? Did you collect the...
I collected the cards. I didn't really battle with the cards, though, but I did collect them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because that's the experience we're having is my children want to collect them, and I taught them how to battle, but we don't really do that as much.
Yeah.
More of the learning might actually be in the battle itself, I think.
Yeah, and I get that. I think it's more of just, oh my God, just like in the games, like I got this, and then maybe you leave it, in your Pokemon home, or you leave it there, and you're like, okay, now that's over. I want the next one.
So, other than a cat and dog, what would you say would be your favorite animal?
This is probably the hardest question you're going to ask me today because pretty much every animal that I like is either a variation of a cat or a dog, whether it be a wolf or, a leopard or a tiger or a lion. I love...
I meant not a house cat or a...
Okay. Okay, because like those are the Pokemon I go for too. So I'm like, I want the cats and the dogs.
I'm going to say cat or dog. So there's like this... I learned really quick.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know.
Spirit animal, right? Could be another way I could frame that.
Oh God. Well, I'll give you the one that's my astrological sign. Maybe that'll help. I am Aries. I am the ram, and rams I think are very stubborn. They butt heads a lot. That's very familiar to me. Like I tend to be pretty stubborn, so I guess I have some similarity with the ram, but yeah. But outside of that, like it's gonna be a cat or a dog, wild animal for me. I love them.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And it's, it is a difficult question, but I think it's nice because it's another way to kind of personify ourselves, right?
Exactly.
About where we identify as our own personality.
Exactly.
So I know we've talked about a lot of games today, but what is your favorite game?
Well, obviously it's Pokemon, but as far as which Pokemon?
Which one?
Yeah, I would say the one that I remember feeling the happiest with was Fire Red and Leaf Green. Fire and Leaf Green was a remake of Red and Blue from the Game Boy, like the original ones. And I think I just love being able to explore the original Kanto region, have those original 151. I've played it over and over again, just rebattling people and stuff. But yeah, there's so many. I loved Gold and Silver. I even really enjoyed Scarlet and Violet. I got so much out of that experience. So, yeah.
I think you've talked about this a little bit, but what are the game mechanics that really made you love the red and green, or that aspect of it?
It was so much the mechanics because, I already knew the mechanics from playing Gold and Silver and Ruby and Sapphire. So it was really the next part of that. But I think it was, at that time, the graphics were really nice. And it was going up and meeting like people from the original series, like battling Brock and battling Misty. And at that time, it was just a really cool way to see the very first region. And for some reason, I think that felt like the most comfortable to me, and I just loved being there.
And you've kind of already shared, I think, just in general, all of the Pokemon, it has to do with the collecting of things.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, collection, growth, and freedom. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wish I would have asked you about?
What's my favorite Pokemon?
What is your favorite Pokemon, Jade Arthur?
Arcanine.
Why is Arcanine your favorite?
Well, he's kind of an amalgam of different elements that I love about Pokemon in general and animals. He's like a big dog. He's got tiger stripes and a lion's mane. And I just think he's so majestic. He looks powerful. And I love dogs. So I love that he's primarily canine but has cat-like elements, and I just love it. I have a stuffed animal Arcanine as well, so.
There you go. Do you find that you try and seek that Pokemon out whenever you play a Pokemon platform?
A lot of times I do want it to be a part of my team. I usually more prefer to have creatures I haven't had before, or something that I haven't had as often. But like every time I see it, it does feel like a special Pokemon to me. It's like I see it in battle. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you weren't allowed to choose dog for your favorite animal. You were able to choose dog as your favorite.
That's okay. That's all right.
It all works out. So how can people connect with you if they'd like to reach out?
Awesome. So I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, and you can go to @MakeTheGrade with Jade on Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to talk to you and help you and talk Pokemon with you.
Jade Arthur, thank you so much for joining me on Game Layer today. I really had a good time talking to you, and I appreciate you reaching out to find me.
Yeah.
You really supported me. I'm still launching this show, and it's just really nice to have someone just, hey, look what this guy's doing, and reach out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. It was a pleasure. I'm so glad to meet you, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Have a great day, all right?
You too. Thanks.
I'll see you when you see me.
Awesome. See ya.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Game Layer. This is David Colmer reminding you to stay present and never postpone joy. You can find transcripts of the show at gamelayer.fm. GAMELAYER.fm. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Thanks for listening. Now go, play.
I play chess.
I play Scrabble.
I play fauteuil. I play everything.
Hide and seek with my kids.
I play the piano.
I play board games.
I play guitar.
I smash it on the pitch.
I play chess.
I play Othello.
I play all the Marios.
I play Success Strategist.
I play Street Fighter.
Final Fantasy.
I play games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention.
There are many ways to play. Going for a walk together, doing nothing together is also playing. Anything that can cultivate your feeling of joy, relaxation, where you feel more recharged after doing that thing, and I think you can consider as something that we play with. I'd like to move to the domain of play